Have you tried many other manifestation methods, but nothing has seemed to work in your reality? Or maybe you've tried and maybe you got a little bit of results? Let me tell you that I've done a lot of things, and this method seems to work the best for me. And what that is, it's called SATS, state akin to sleep. This was actually a method that Neville Goddard used. He was so good at manifesting his reality that he was able to manifest things between 24 hours and even within 3 days, 72 hours. He always talks about 72 hours within this time frame. And even some of his more difficult manifestations came in a week later. So I got a comment the other day that her and her husband wanted to actually leave and move to another country, but they didn't have the finances to do it. And I'm going to share with you how you can use this with anything. Because when I used this method called SATS, which also known as state akin to sleep, I was able to manifest in a time crunch because I needed about 4 to 5 grand, because during the Christmas season, there's holiday markets in my area. So for 6 weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for 6 weekends, I had to come up with like $4,500 for those weekends, and I couldn't pay weekly. I had to come up with all in cash. And I didn't have any at the time because all my product that I had was already tied up into jewelry that I made. So I didn't have it. So I needed this money within 2 days. So what I did was I went to sleep that night, and it's called state akin to sleep. We do this right before we sleep. So I imagined when I laid down in my bed that I already received this money and that I had it in my hand. I was literally counting the money. So when I visualized this, that's all I had to do. I knew that it was done. And when I went to sleep, somehow, some way, I didn't think about how it was going to come to me, but it did. As soon as I got that money, within that first 48 hours, the first day I had like the first day I had about $2,000, and then the next day I got another $2,400. And it's surprising because usually I don't get that amount of cash at one time, and I didn't have any really to jump in there because I had all my money tied up in other things. And it was crazy because as soon as I got it, I immediately just gave it to somebody else because I knew that I was going to make 20 times that money if I got into this event. So literally, this is the fastest method I ever came across, because you don't have to waste a lot of time doing other kind of methods like writing and scripting. Yeah, that does work, but what I'm just trying to convey to you is that you don't have to affirm all day and robotically affirm. You don't have to write your things down over and over and over. If you're already having such a busy day and you don't have a lot of time, this is all I literally had to do. The reason why it works is because we are trying to get ourselves into a relaxed state. And when this method is being done, it's either done right before you go to sleep, or you can do this during the day, but you must be in this relaxed state. So you have to lay back in your chair, close your eyes, and get into this state. And what we are actually doing when we go into the state akin to sleep is that we are visualizing, we're creating a short little clip of the future event as if that thing that you already want has been manifested. So if you're imagining yourself wanting to live in this different country, you would imagine yourself already there in that country. For example, with Neville Goddard, he wanted to go to Barbados, but he didn't have a nickel to him. And that's what he said. And this was during the 1940s. He would go down the street, go knock on the door, and talk to his teacher, Abdullah. Abdullah would tell him, "You're already in Barbados. There's nothing else you need to do." So he left and he came back and forth. I told the story a few times already, but just so then you would know that he finally realized that what he actually had to do was imagine himself already there. And next thing you know, he got a plane ticket that he didn't have to come up with the money for to go see his family. in Barbados. There was another incident of his when he was in the military and they were going to war, and he didn't want to go to war. He wanted to be home with his family, but his sergeant said that he had to go to war and he was already there. So he knocked on the door and told the sergeant that he didn't want to be there anymore. He wanted to go home, and the sergeant told him, "No, you can't. You have to do this. You have to do your service to the US for the war." So he left that door, he closed the door on him, and then he went back to his bed. He said, "I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go lay down in my bed and imagine that I'm in my bed at home in New York City with my family." He did that. Next thing you know, the sergeant called him in the next day or the next day after and told him, "Hey, do you still want to go home?" And he said, "Yeah." And he gave him an honorable discharge and sent him on his way. It is simple as imagining this small little clip. The way Neville says that you want to do this is you want to visualize it, imagine by what would be there, who would be there, what would it feel like, what it would taste like, what would the things around you look like. You want to visualize this as much as you can. You don't want to have too much of a manifestation where you're trying to manifest so many things, because you want to keep this very short and simple. And if you're bad at visualizing, because a lot of us, there are people out there that just can't really visualize, I would go look up some images related to the thing that you want or the place that you actually want to live, and look at those images right before you go to sleep, and look at those. And you can even lay back in your chair and get into this relaxed state, because the way that the consciousness works is that you want to get into that very drowsy state right before sleep. So when you get into this very drowsy state, this is where you start visualizing the life that you are desiring, living in that wish fulfilled. And what happens is that your subconscious will go to work, because it's easier to tap into the subconscious when you're in that drowsy state. And then your subconscious will be impressed by it. If you want to manifest the things quickly in your life and you want to manifest instantly, by far this is the best way to do it. Is just imagining and going to sleep, visualizing, and wake up to see your desire already there. Now, if your desire still hasn't shown up yet, then you do not stop with this method until it comes into your reality, or when you feel the conviction inside of you, knowing that it already is done, that it's finished, that it's complete, that it's already yours. So when I go to sleep, and sometimes I don't visualize what I would imagine or just say to myself, I would repeat an affirmation related to the thing you want. I am so happy now that I'm living in the UK. I'm so glad and happy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's done. Like, the way that you would have gratitude for something isn't the gratitude like you're grateful for the things you have. The way that gratitude works is when you're saying thankful means it's already been done. So you're already thinking from the future present tense that it's already existed in your life. So that's what SATS is, and this has worked for me many times, and I'm starting to understand more and more that this is really all you need. And during my day, I talk about many other videos on how you should become and how you should be acting in your reality. So that is the second part to that, is living your day and walking, acting as if that person that you already are, that new self-concept, that new person that already has the desire. So if you still want to know more about manifestation and you want to level up your reality, then check this video out here to take you to the next level.